So you're here because you want to learn how to draw eyes. You've been struggling. I get it, it's hard. But it's actually a lot easier than you are putting into your brain. People often just draw the general outline of the eye and they don't actually identify the components of the eyeball because it's literally an eyeball. So the first shape that you should be making is a circle. So what you're gonna wanna do is think about the eyeball not being the outline, but think of it being a ball with two flaps of skin around it. This will really help you with the anatomy. I'm not gonna get into it too much, but you guys are gonna see the actual outlining and the sketching process that I create when I'm actually drawing the eye. And it's super duper easy. If I'm looking this way, it's because I'm looking at what you guys are looking at, okay? The first thing is you should always have a reference. This is the reference I chose. And you can see that the first circle, the first shape I'm making is a circle. And that's supposed to represent the eyeball underneath the skin. Then I'm creating guidelines that basically go with the shape of the eyelids and the eye. Super, super, super simple. These guidelines can vary. If you feel like you struggle doing one thing, spend a little bit more time on the guidelines because this is gonna help you when you're actually putting it on paper, right? So as you can see, I start with the base color, and the base color is general color, like similar to her skin tone or his skin tone. And I'm just copying exactly what I put here. Now pause. What I'm gonna say is, I forgot what I was gonna say. It's gonna come to me, hold on. Oh, this is what I was gonna say. So if you're drawing traditionally, I always recommend it. You don't have to do this, but this is what my art class did. So I'm teaching you this so you don't have to go to art class. First of all, let me talk about this. I had a whole argument with people. If you go check out my short videos, I had an argument because I told people not to trace. Now, my idea of tracing is just tracing out the outline of everything and using that same outline to color in your painting. Now, some people are gonna say, no. Tracing is when you steal another artist's work and you trace over their work. Yes, it's still tracing, but that is copying. When somebody creates art, it's their trademark, it's their art. So by creating the same thing that they created, that is copying, that is copyright, that is plain out stealing. But tracing is a whole different thing. Tracing is the act of completely coloring over the outline of something. That's what tracing is. Now, what I'm doing with the reference, which is creating those guidelines, that is not tracing. That is not tracing, that is study. That is study. Because when you go to art school, all teachers, good teachers, are gonna teach you how to identify shapes. Now, what I'm doing is just visualizing it to you guys. After a while, you don't have to do this anymore. Once you become good at art, you don't have to have those guidelines there anymore because you already visualize it. Now, is it good to? Yes. Does it help you? Yes. Do some traditional, really good artists still use those guidelines? Yes. Most likely for teaching purposes, but they can already visualize it. So don't think that that is tracing. It's not tracing. What if I were to trace, I would be outlining every individual aspect. So outlining the circle of the eye, the pupil, the lashes, each hair, that is tracing, and it will always be tracing. And I never recommend that to any student that I will ever teach or any person in general. I had people in the comments saying, well, everybody learns differently, which is true, but I don't recommend it because it doesn't teach you the fundamentals. Because when you see those people on YouTube or TikTok and they have videos of them like on the train station drawing the person in front of them, they didn't learn that by tracing other images. They learned that by the fundamentals, learning how to identify shapes. As much as people try to fight the fact that tracing is good and it can help them, yes, you might think it's helping you because as an artist, as you continue doing art, it doesn't matter how you do it, you're still gonna advance. But there's better ways to handle the situation. There's better ways to advance when you're doing art, and tracing is not one of them. Any art teacher that's teaching you that is wrong. That's a fact. So anyway, I just wanted to disclose that. But my main point was that if you're working traditionally and you really are trying to learn how to draw, I would always recommend you to print out your reference and to do those same guidelines so that when you're on your paper, you could do the same thing. You can copy those guidelines. So this isn't only restricted to digital artists. You can even make it digital. You can draw it digitally and then you can use that for your reference. Any method you use to make sure that you get those circles and those shapes, general shapes for your advantage, go ahead and use it. That's all I'm gonna say, okay? So back to the video. I'm just outlining, I'm using the same exact thing I'm doing for the reference, I'm doing for my actual paper, right? And I like to use a brown when I'm shading. It's just my personal preference. I end up lowering the opacity anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Then all I'm doing is erasing all those excess lines. The better you do in the sketching process, you're really setting yourself up for success. So you want to make sure you spend a good amount of time getting the proportions right. Take your time. You can do the sketching on one day and then, you know, the coloring on another. Whatever is best for you. If you treat your art more like a study, you're not as stressed about it. Then I'm laying out colors. I know I'm going kind of fast, but you'll see it again. You can see that in the reference, she has a lot of pink around her eyes. This is very normal for people. So you want to make sure you're identifying those colors. I even create a palette for myself. No, I do not drop, click and get the pictures directly, the colors directly from the reference, but I'm actually looking at the reference and, identifying, okay, this kind of looks close. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can tell that the reference is a lot brighter. The eyes, the pupils and the eye color is a lot dull in mine, which is okay. Treat your art more like a study and you won't be as stressed about it. It doesn't have to look exactly like the reference. Especially as a beginner artist, you're learning how to do the process more than learning how to make it look exactly like the reference. So here I'm just showing you guys how I do the lashes. Now I have a lot of lashes tutorials on my shorts and on my shorter term content, which can be a little bit more thorough, but basically when I'm drawing the lashes, yes, I'm using a reference, but I'm also using kind of these triangle curves, and I always start lighter. I mean, I don't really here, but you start with a lighter shade of black or a gray color. So then if you mess up, you can always go back. You always want to start from light to dark. I'm always going to recommend that. So you can see that once the pupil, and I'm going to put guidelines here on the screen, right where the pupil and the lash line up, that's when the lashes start changing directions. So you can see it starts going towards the left and then it shifts to the right. This is really important to remember. So you're not just putting the lashes anywhere. They actually have their own, they curve with your eyelid as well. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing applies for the bottom of the lash. It doesn't change. So this person in particular, I believe they have eyeliner on. So where the lashes grow, you can see it looks like there's a big dark line there. So I actually added that line, but in most case scenarios, I wouldn't do that. And then the eyelashes actually create a cast shadow. This is something that you want to identify when you're going about drawing the eyes, but don't go extreme. Sometimes I see people add like really dark shadows to the eyeballs that are coming from the lashes, and it just doesn't look realistic. Just go based off your reference. If you see that the lashes have a little bit of a cast shadow, add it. And make sure it's not too dark. If you ever feel like you don't know how to identify the shading of a color, squint your eyes. Look at your reference compared to the drawing. And if you see that your reference has way more of a darker shade in a certain area, that means you need to lighten it up. I always do this, and you just squint, blur your vision because it gets rid of all of the details and all you're looking at is the color and the overall shape. So I always do this. This is also why artists will tell you, you know, in the middle of your painting, step back. You know, when you stare at something for too long, you see too many imperfections, or you don't look at certain things you overlook. So these are things you want to be taking into account. So always step back, do the squinting method, do anything you can in order to get it as perfect as you can, but don't worry about perfection. Just get it as accurate as you can. That's a better word. Adding highlights, a little bit of white here and there. I know artists tell you not to add white. People say, oh, don't use white, don't use white. I can't even be biased. I use white sometimes. But if you're too scared to do so, just add like a little hint of yellow and you can add the little specks. This person in particular, whoever I was referencing, they had a lot of gloss in their eyes, which just added to the beauty. So when I was adding the lashes to the bottom lash, I was individually adding little, like, you know, little highlights, little dots, because if there was wetness or the moisture around the eyes. So these are all things you want to acknowledge. Also, you can see that kind of at the bottom of her eyes right here, she has a lot of orange and pink tones. These are all things you want to acknowledge. If you're having problems identifying colors and rendering, and you feel like when you're sketching or when you're doing art, you kind of make everything look too blended out, then definitely check out my how to render video. I go super in depth on how to render, how to identify colors, and basically everything you need to perfect what you got going on. I'm telling you, it's really great. It's a really good video. I definitely recommend it. If you learned something in today's video, definitely follow me on all platforms. It's much appreciated for a small artist. It's hard out here for us, so it is definitely appreciated. Also, make sure you like this video, comment down below if you made it this far. Let me know what else you guys want to learn. Let me know if there's anything that I missed out on, or if there's any other additional questions on drawing the eyes, and I'll definitely respond. I respond to all comments, so keep that in mind. So there's also colors that sometimes will be on the face that you don't really necessarily acknowledge. For example, around the pink part, I don't know anatomy, guys. When I tell you I don't know anatomy, don't get mad at me. I don't know anatomy, okay? Sorry. But the little pinkness in the inside of your eye, y'all know what it is because you'll have it, hopefully. There's like a little bit of blues. Add those things. If you see something in your reference, add it. Everything added. Don't go too much, but little goes a long way. A little really does go a long way. And if you see that there's certain greens, I know in my eyeballs, I have like a vein that goes across my face. Like, everybody is different in their own way, even to the smallest degree. So if you can add that color to the eyes, you can add, I started adding the little veins in her eyes. Everything counts. And sometimes I see people overdo the veins, like they make it really scary, which you don't want to do. So all you're gonna do is just add like a little itty bitty line, and then you're blending it out a little bit. You can always go back, erase, do what you gotta do. But these little details do matter, they do count. So at this point, I'm kind of satisfied. I leave and I come back. I know you can't see it in the footage, but I do actually step off and then I come back. I'm still satisfied. So I ended up leaving it this way. I could have added a little bit more stuff, but in general, I was done. I was happy, I was completed. So I just want to say I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful for you guys watching this far in the video. Again, you guys know what to do if you supported and liked this video. I don't know what to do next for a tutorial, so definitely if you need a nose tutorial, which I do have, if you need a lip tutorial, I might do that one next. Please comment down below, let me know what you guys think. Also, I am trying to create a really small community, but great community on my Instagram. I'm super good at responding to my Instagram. I've met so many small artists and I am always open to doing collabs with them, just like little things, little collabs, you know, where you draw something, I draw something, kumbaya, I tag you, you tag me, you know, just getting out in the art community. If you're interested in something like that, I'm very friendly. Definitely go comment, follow me on Instagram, comment on one of my videos saying, I'm a small artist, let's do a collab. I'll definitely follow you back, and that is great. You want to have an artist friend, definitely check out my Instagram. But that will be all for today. I hope you guys learned something. Make sure you drink enough water and stay blessed.